boys. The Royal Rumble 2024 is in the books, and what a show! Oh my God. Cody Rhodes, 2 years in a row for the first time in 26 years. They've teased it before saying, could he do it? Could he do it? Since Austin did it at 1997, 1998 Royal Rumbles, has won the Royal Rumble for the second year in a row. Oh my God. What a night, guys. I mean, I gotta say, I'm not too surprised this happened. I thought it would come. I figured it would come down to him and Punk, especially after that promo they cut on each other on Raw. And I gotta say, I did not expect Gunther to be like, what was he, number 18? I definitely thought he would have come a lot earlier in the Rumble than he did. So he wasn't there as long as he was last year as number one, but he did make it to the final three, and Drew made it to the final four. But CM Punk eliminated Drew, and it was just very interesting because I kind of felt like it was going to come down to those four. And once Gunther got eliminated, um, that's kind of when I knew that you know at that point I was like, it's going to come down to Cody and Punk. And, it's funny because when it came down to Cody and Punk, when Punk started, they had a pretty long sequence with each other. A lot of times they would kind of just land on the ground. Both hit each other with their finishing moves. And it was really the trash talking when Punk said, he's not going to lose to Dusty's kid, that I knew he was about to lose, because that's it's usually when they do the trash talking and stuff that they end up getting eliminated, and that's exactly what happened. But I gotta say, this was very interesting. Um, that they went this route. Um, I will say I'm not surprised Punk didn't win. I didn't expect CM Punk to come back to WWE and just immediately win the Rumble coming back. I did not expect that to happen. Keep in mind, when Cody won the Rumble last year, he had already been back with WWE for quite some time. He had just came back from injury. So I did not expect, CM Punk to come back and win the Rumble. But, at least this time, unlike his previous time in the Rumble in 2014, at least he actually he made it to the final two. That time he made it to the final four, but he got Kane, eliminated him, who had previously, who he had previously eliminated much earlier in the night, and chokeslammed through the announce table. So, and then at that point, Punk walked out. But this time, it was the very opposite. So Cody Rhodes wins it for a second time. Big, big moment for him. I gotta say, man, out of the two Rumbles, I enjoyed the men's Rumble a lot. But I do think the women's was even more interesting to me, mainly because you had a debut of some sorts of someone who's not even currently under contract with WWE, with Jordan Grace. That had to be out of all the surprises, that had to be the highlight for me of the whole night, because you know we have never ever seen. This is how you know it's a new era at WWE. Never seen someone who's not signed to WWE show up at the Rumble. So that this was a huge moment when she came out. I think I had a feeling that Trinity was coming back, as Naomi, after she lost to Jordan. I had a feeling she was going to come back. So now she's re-signed with WWE. So it was nice. I just didn't expect her to be the number two person to come out, but for Jordan to come out, that to me was the biggest shock of the whole night. And before the men's Rumble, though, just kind of focusing on Cody winning, I gotta say, man, this was something. You did still have some really good, interests. Andrade made his return as you expected after he left AEW, his final pay per view. at World's End when he lost to Rusev. When he not Rusev, when he lost to Miro, who used to be known to Rusev. When he lost to Miro, that was his final AEW match, and said he was leaving the company. And now he got a pretty big reaction when he showed up in the Rumble. And we also had some NXT appearances, first Rumble appearances. Carmelo Hayes and Bronson and Braun Breaker. They got some pretty big reaction, especially Braun Breaker at number 20. He, looked really good in there. Um, Omos came back. I hadn't seen him in quite a while. So you had you know, some pretty decent returns and, well, in some cases, first appearances in the Rumble NXT stars. It was really nice to see them, um, you know, and as Andrade was probably like the real big surprise considering he just came back to the company. But for the NXT stars, Carmelo and Braun, they were some pretty big ones as well. Um, so yeah, overall in the men's rumble, it was still pretty good. You had Jay and Jimmy actually start the rumble. And surprisingly, Jay did not eliminate Jimmy. Jimmy actually uh, got eliminated, but it wasn't from Jay. I'm trying to think of who eliminated. I know Jay got eliminated by Gunther, but Jimmy actually he got eliminated. What was it? Was it Cody? I can't think of who threw him out. It's not ringing in my head right now. But it was not Jay. So you start to wonder, you know, uh, perhaps are they going to face each other at WrestleMania? It seems like now maybe the direction they might go might be Jay versus Gunther. Maybe that might be the direction, especially after the feud that's been going on with the New Day. Um, that's another thing. Kobe, his tricks at this point at the Rumble were pretty much done. We didn't see that this year. He pretty much easily got eliminated by Gunther. We had a funny moment when Pat McAfee music hit and he got in the ring, looked like he was going to try to get in there, stepped out the ring, stepped back in, and then eliminated himself when he saw Omos and Braun Breaker staring at each other. That was pretty funny. R Truth, he showed up in a women's rumble thinking it was the men's rumble, and Nia Jax threw him out. Then he caused Valhalla to get eliminated by Nia Jax because of it. And then in the men's rumble, he came out and through JD McDonough, who got speared by Braun Breaker when he was upset because Dominic, of all people, eliminated him. And then he threw him back in the ring just for him to get eliminated by, just to get eliminated as soon as he came back in by Jey Uso. So, um, pretty crazy, um, that whole development. Um, but you know, like I said, at the end of it, it came to Sami Zayn ended up being number 30. He got a pretty big pop. I was wondering, who number 30 would be, especially when Drew came out as 29. I think Punk was like 28. Um, so at that point, I was starting to wonder, like, but it was nice to see Sammy. Sometimes it doesn't always have to be someone who we haven't seen in a long time, but he had been gone for quite a while, not that long, but quite a while when Drew took him out. So it's nice to see him in there. And, you know, he did get eliminated by Drew, but like I said, it came down to those four. And, it really, I got to say, this year was probably, they really had you thinking like any of these guys could win it here. But again, with that promo they cut on Raw, you just took it away. I'll say the reason why the women's rumble to me, uh, both rumbles I enjoy. Even though the women's one, there were several botches in that rumble, and the men's had a couple of botches too, somewhat. But the women's one was a little bit more interesting to me because I didn't expect Bailey to win. I really thought, because of the storyline with Damage Control, she was going to get eliminated. but I also didn't necessarily think Becky would win it a second time either. So the women's one was very interesting to me how they booked it because Bailey lasted. First of all, Bailey was like one of the MVPs of the Rumble. She actually eliminated several people, you know, but prior to Nia Jax getting in there, Nia Jax threw a lot of women out of the Rumble, but Bailey actually, when her teammates Kyrie and Oscar got in there, they triple teamed and threw some women out of the match. She, I think, was the one who threw, the one from Alpha Academy threw her out. And so it came the way how Bailey won. It came down to her and Liv Morgan, and she threw Liv Morgan out after Liv Morgan had eliminated Jay Cargill. Jay Cargill was the one who actually eliminated Nia Jax, and I did not see that coming, which makes me think there's going to be a feud between them. She came out and got a pretty massive pop when she came out. Because she's been signed with WWE for a while. She just hasn't wrestled yet. She got a pretty massive pop. When she threw Nia Jax out, that was humongous. She had a stare down with Bianca Belair at one point, and that was a pretty that got a huge reaction. Jay Cargill really surprised me because she threw out Naomi. I think what was it, Becky at the exact same time. That's how it came down to her, Liv, and Bailey. But I really think with the women, I think the plan is still for Becky to face Rhea at WrestleMania. I think this win for Bailey, even though she says she's going after Rhea, somehow, some way, I feel like this is just gonna lead to her and Io going at it in some capacity. I like if you look at the way they've been booking and teasing Becky and Rhea, it really does seem like Bailey winning perhaps was just a way to get her and Io Sky to go at it. Even though I would love to see them all holding the gold together, but if you do that, you kind of don't have anything for Becky to do. But like I said, I mainly just want to talk about Cody winning twice, but overall, uh, the Roar almost was amazing. And the undercard, was good too. The only problem I had with the undercard, because it was only two matches in the undercard, I was surprised Roman match was actually the second match instead of being the opener or the final match, the Fatal Four Way. For once, I'll say at least this time it wasn't as many shenanigans as it normally is in Roman's matches. This particular time, Solo got involved, but once he got once he got put through the barricade, he that was pretty much it for him. And Roman won clean, for spear on AJ Styles when when LA Knight was trying to go for the BFT and he pushed him to AJ Styles, who looked like he was going to try to go for another phenomenal forearm, and he speared both of them to win it. But it was pretty good though. I gotta say, this Fatal Four Way was really good. LA Knight, I would have to say, was the star of this match. LA Knight, he really brought it in this Fatal Four Way. A lot of times in the match, at one point he hit a superplex. Um, I think it was it AJ Styles? He hit that on. I think he hit it on AJ Styles. He did manage to hit the BFT on Roman once, but AJ Styles kind of just fell into him and stopped at the pin. AJ Styles hit a Styles Clash on Roman, and then LA Knight broke the pin up. And you had a point in the match when Randy Orton started smashing all of them through the table, picking them up and putting them through hitting them on the table. As LA Knight was doing it, he kept smacking Orton's head through on the table, and then Randy Orton, kind of returned the favor. So I gotta say, it was pretty good. I really thought LA Knight, this is the best he's looked um, in this particular. In my opinion, I thought he was the star of this match for a bulk of it. He really brought it in this fatal four way. But everybody had their moments. Roman. You know, Randy Orton. Take nothing away from him. He's already a legend at this point. His the best moment from Orton in this match is when he hit that RKO on Roman. The way that Roman kind of just came to the air and he hit it like that was sick. That was amazing how he hit that RKO and he was about to win and that's when Solo, pulled the ref out of the ring and got involved because he hit an RKO on everybody and at that point nobody was kicking out. He hit all three of them with an RKO. And then you had one spot in the match where Roman, after Solo helped him, and he stacked Randy Orton in LA Knight on top of each other. He was gonna try to pin them both, and then AJ Styles hit him with a phenomenal forearm. And he had all three of them stacked on each other. He tried to pin them, and all three of them kicked out. That was pretty creative how they did that. Almost tried to recreate the moment from WrestleMania 37 with Daniel Bryan Edge, which Michael Cole did reference to. And I do want to say, Michael Cole, this is how you can tell, with Vince being gone and stuff, it's a new era and stuff, because he actually mentioned, first of all, in the Women's Rumble, they mentioned, Jordan Grace being a TNA Knockouts champ and, her beating Naomi for the belt that Hard to Kill. They didn't say the pay per view name, but they just like her beat Naomi. And then the fact that they constantly referenced that. They even referenced Dolph Ziggler, you know, uh, as far as the Royal Rumble is concerned. So it's just interesting how much the company has changed with the referencing past superstars is no longer past wrestlers is no longer the company at once is like new in that case. But yeah, I gotta say this Rumble was amazing. The Even though, like I said, there were some botches in both of them, and I think for the undercard, really Solo did not need to be involved in that fatal four way. It was going perfectly fine without him. There was really no need to put him in there. And the match with Logan and Kevin Owens, it's kind of crazy how they booked the ending to that match because the match was going pretty good. I mean, Kevin was bringing it to Logan so bad. Logan was bleeding the nose. He had rashes on his chest. It just looked pretty nasty. But with all the sentons and chops he was giving Logan, and then the frog splash, and at one point. And then Logan tried to get that guy to give him the brass knucks, but Ace Austin Theory and Grayson Waller came and gave it to him. But then, Kevin Owens took it from him, clocked him with it, and was about to win the match. But the ref seen he had it in his hand, and he got disqualified. And so then he tacked Logan and powerbombed him through the table. So you had that whole thing going on. So it was pretty crazy how they booked it, but you kind of knew they weren't going to have Logan lose his first title defense. But I would have preferred them just have Logan win, without any shenanigans, like just win clean or something. And when I say win clean, I mean like when he hit him with the knockout blow, Kevin kicked out of it. But they didn't have to end it with like a DQ. They could have just they could have went a better way of with ending the match. So that's the only thing with the undercard. Both matches had interference. It's just as far as the fatal four way, I don't think the interference took away from the match as much, only because once Solo was thrown like out, you know, that was it for him. But you know, I think really this should have been a match where Roman had no interference and just proved that he's what he say he is, the GOAT and could do it on his own. But you got to wonder with Cody winning 2 years in a row, he has to win at WrestleMania, right? I mean, it literally has never been any person that I can think of that won the Rumble twice and lost both times at WrestleMania. That's never happened. Um, you know, Austin was not did not main event WrestleMania 13, but he lost in a classic match to Bret Hart. He main evented WrestleMania 14, beat Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels did not win WrestleMania um, 11 against Kevin Nash. He lost that for the WWF Championship, but then he won against Bret Hart the following year at a 60-minute Iron Man match. Um, WrestleMania 12. So I can't think of anybody who's won it more than once. Even like more modern, Cena when he won in '08, he lost at WrestleMania in a triple threat match with him, Randy Orton, Triple H. Randy Orton retained his WWE Championship WrestleMania 24, but then he won, at WrestleMania 29 against The Rock in their rematch when he won that Rumble. So 9 times out of 10, when wrestlers win more than one Rumble, they usually end up out of one of those matches. They usually end up winning at WrestleMania. So you just kind of wonder, with him winning, does this mean, you know, that he's going to win at WrestleMania? It's just very interesting. Um, you hope to see it, but at the same time, Roman's very close to passing Hulk Hogan's record. So it's like, if he doesn't win, then what this whole second win of his would be completely pointless. So that's the only thing I just want to say about Cody winning. But overall, though, I really enjoyed this Rumble. Uh, like I said, the women's one for me was a little bit more engaging because you had some pretty shocks out there I just did not expect to happen. No Mercedes Monet, which indicates to me that perhaps she really is going to AEW. No AJ Lee, as they kind of teased, maybe she was going to make an appearance, but you still had, a lot of people from NXT or just some women that this was like their first time in the Rumble. Ivy Nile, this was her first time in the Rumble. She looked pretty good. She actually had a stare down with Jordan Grace at one point. Her and Jordan were going at, and it was actually Bianca who eliminated Jordan Grace. I was hoping Jordan would maybe, eliminate some people in the match, but that didn't happen. But I can imagine this had to be a big moment for her, because she's never wrestled in WWE in any capacity. But to do that and still be on a contract with TNA, you know, that was a really big moment. Really enjoyed it. So yeah, they had a lot of Jade Cargill, like I said, when she came out, she got a thunder reaction. Liv Morgan came back from her injury, and at number 30, she got a pretty good reaction. So what I like about this year's women's Rumble, and even last year, they're no longer focusing so much on, the nostalgia. It's good to have, people wrestlers from the past, both in the men and women's Rumble from time to time, to come back. But they're focusing more on having, the current wrestlers, and then you might have somebody from NXT, and they'll still get a pretty big reaction too, because this is, in many cases, this is like their first Rumble. Like they had Tiffany Stratton come out, and this was her first Rumble, and they had Roxanne Perez come out, and that was her first Rumble. So they had some pretty some pretty good NXT wrestlers coming in there, showing up, showing out in the Rumble, which is really nice to see. Uh, like I said, when Nia came in there, she threw a bunch of them out. Chelsea Green, I gotta say, she was probably the highlight of this Rumble too. She took so many bumps. I felt bad for her. Like the wrestlers just kept falling on her partner. just kept following her multiple times. I mean, it was, you kind of felt bad for her. Like she just could not. There was no way for her to get away. Like every time she moved, she just kept getting hit on, and until she finally got eliminated. Because you know, Bianca tried to throw her out like how last year Maria threw out, but this time she was smart and she didn't, get thrown. I think initially it was Bailey who eliminated her, if I can remember correctly. But like I said, I just the women surprised me more because I really thought Bailey was going to get eliminated. Especially with the whole damage control thing. But now I still think that the seeds are planted for her to get kicked out the group, and that this win of hers really is just going to lead to her and Io going at it somehow. I don't want to see it, but I'm like, I don't see logically. I just don't see any other way they go. If you don't do Becky and Rhea Ripley, I don't really see any other way they would go. So, unless you're making a triple threat, but I doubt they would go that direction. I feel like Becky somehow, maybe at the Elimination Chamber or something, is going to earn her shot at Rhea in some capacity. Becky has never really, at least since she's been in the main event scene, she hasn't really like not. Last year was probably like the first time in a long time where she, wasn't in a big, high profile match, because she was at WrestleMania last year, but she was in a 6 women tag match against Damage Control at WrestleMania. So I don't know. I just don't really see them doing that, but we'll see what happens. So that's just what I mainly want to talk about. Awesome show, uh, and I look forward to see what happens on both sides. I also like the fact they showed the champions looking through the rafters, like looking to see, like, oh, are they gonna pick me? Are they gonna pick me? Like, you know. So it's going to be very interesting. But yeah, that's it. Sign off, Ray Master Flex. I'll talk to you guys another day. Peace.